And later on in life, Andrea became a special ed teacher, and my son Todd, he basically works at an Enterprise car rental as a manager, and they both grew up to be pretty good kids. My wife and I have been married now for 43 years, and we met going to Franklin College as a kid. She played with my sister, although I never knew her, because she lived a couple of blocks from us. And it wasn't until we started commuting to Franklin College that she actually, I got to know her.
So what's the key to 43 years of marriage?
You know, I'm not real sure, but I think marrying the right person helps a hell of a lot. We both tolerate each other quite well, somehow or another. She's a very easygoing person, and she's been very tolerant of me. I ended up getting my college degree after we was married. I had a couple of years of college in, and then after we got married, I stayed out of school for a while and then went back to school. And she's very tolerant of that. At times not as tolerant as perhaps she should have been, but I worked at Cummins Engine Company for 28 years, and worked at Goldman Foundry Company for 6 years. All this time was after we was married, and during this time I was a volunteer fireman for a total of about 23 years. And I served as an officer of the department for 21 of the 23 years, and as the chief of the fire department for 8 years. After 23 years, I was kind of burned out, and I had accomplished my objective. I had decided that if I could save just one life, that the time and the effort being a volunteer fireman would be worthwhile. And I was able to save 2 lives during this period. And one was CPR. I was inside, we was assisting the Elizabethtown Fire Department. Since I was not in charge of that particular scene, their fire chief was, I decided to grab the hose and went inside and just simply put out the fire. Both of their trucks were down, and the fire had started, was going pretty good when we got there. And I grabbed the high pressure hose and went inside and extinguished it rather quickly. And about 95% of the fire was out pretty quickly. And Bill Feder, who was captain of the department, came in and says, "Chief," said, "we got a man down." And I figured it was one of our firemen. And so I gave him the hose, or got another fireman to take the hose, and Bill followed me back out. And there was a man that I knew who had worked at Hamilton Costco, and he was down between the 2 fire trucks. And I later found out he was the man that owned the house. And he was down, and Bill says, "Do we start CPR?" And I says, "No, he's still breathing, and his heart's beating." I says, "We'll just monitor." And about a minute later, he stopped breathing, his heart stopped beating. And so we started CPR.
So he was technically dead.
He was technically gone, and we brought him back. And about a minute and a half later, he was breathing on his own, and his heart was beating. And I says, "Okay, Bill," I says, "we can rest a while now. Everything's okay, man, this is cool. I've never done that before."
So tell me how that felt, knowing that you'd actually saved that human life.
Well, we saved him twice, actually. He went out the second time. And pretty soon the medics arrived, and we brought him back. And that night, I had a rough time going to sleep. It was the most wonderful feeling in the world. And I realized that all the training I'd had to become an EMT, the time, the money spent, we saved this man's life, because of that. And so it was all worthwhile. And a few years later, there was a cave-in just on the northeast side of Columbus, where some boys had dug back into a bank, and they made a little cave on a little bitty creek. and the top of the cave broke down and fell on 3 boys, and we was able to save one of the 3 boys. The other 2 boys died, and I didn't sleep for 3 nights after that. We lost these 2 boys. We was able to save one, but losing 2 really hurt. But there was nothing we could do. But I literally dug it out with my hands. There was still a huge shelf of dirt above, and I couldn't ask anyone else to go in, because if it had fallen, anybody inside would have died instantly. One of the boys had died as a result of a broken neck and closed off his air passage, and the second one suffocated. And the third one we got out alive. And I worked with the boy's dad, but I think the father was in such trauma that he never recognized me, and I worked in the same building at Cummins that he did. And we actually knew each other, but I don't think he ever knew that I saved one of his son's lives. Unfortunately, we lost his nephew's life and another son's life, you know. But all the training, everything that I did was worthwhile. It paid off. And saving a life is probably the most wonderful feeling in the world, next to having a baby boy or a baby girl for the first time. That's pretty cool too.
So have you ever seen these people that you saved?
No, I did see the one gentleman that dropped down between the fire trucks when his house caught on fire, and I later found out that he had a pacemaker installed, and he had gone to the bank and drawn a lot of money out, $25,000 cash, because he thought he was going to die. And then he had the pacemaker installed, and it worked for him. And he had that money in the house when it caught on fire. And we was able to save almost all of his money, and we saved his house. And one day he came to the firehouse and said, "Chief Mays," said, "heard you guys saved my house and everything." He says, "I really appreciate it." And he gave the department a $10 reward.
$10, huh?
I don't think he knew we also saved his life, but I personally saved his life. But he gave us a $10 reward. I think he's perhaps still alive. At least I haven't seen his name in the obituary. But $10,
huh?
$10 reward, you know. But I had, my reward was my satisfaction of saving his life. You know, that there's no amount of money could have covered that. You know, I enjoyed what I did. It was very meaningful to me. And through the years, you know, I mean, I sacrificed a lot of my children's time with me, volunteering, firemen, and I hope it paid off. It did in my heart. It paid off. And I'd do it again, you know, if I had the opportunity. But at this age in life, I'm not about to try that.
Okay, funny stories?
Well, some of them would be X-rated, so we can't.
You give me what you want to give. Whatever you feel.
It took me a couple of minutes to come up with something that's kind of cool. I've always enjoyed jokes, but every once in a while you get in trouble with a joke. When I was working at Cummins, there was a girl by the name of Ginger that was she was a nice girl. She was kind of cute, but not totally gorgeous or anything. But she and I were friends, and every once in a while I'd tell her a joke. And one day I told her a joke, and it wasn't totally off-colored even, you know. But she says, "Bill, why do you tell me this joke?" He says, "Who do you think I am?" And I thought, well, you're the same person now that you was in the last year and a half. But apparently she had a personality change, and she was really upset. So I never told her any more jokes. But later she got married, and I took her wedding pictures. And she was a beautiful bride, red-headed girl.